What's going on, guys? I got another video for you today. Today we're going to be going over the programming for a Crystal Focus version 10. We're going to go over the programming, how to change the sound fonts, general kind of programming notes, as well as the main and font configuration files. I'm not going to be going through everything specifically, but this should give you a pretty good overview from start to finish of how to go through programming your Crystal Focus version 10 Saber. I will make a note that I am not going to be covering how to update your firmware. Everything I am basing this off of is the current firmware, which is I think 10.010.0D. But not a lot of changes happen between the firmwares. But if you want to update the latest firmware, go to YouTube and check out Reflector, obviously the maker of the board. He has some videos on how to do it. So we're going to go through kind of the necessary parts, how you find your stock files, where to find the manual, what RTFM means, creating a backup file, formatting your SD card, changing your fonts, your main configuration file, which this is really most of what you're going to be doing for changing how the Saber operates, your font files, which has to do with smooth swing, blades, etc., how to install the files, and then we'll do a quick little wrap up, okay? Recorded this earlier and it didn't record it, so we're going to do this again and kind of try to be a little more efficient here. So, for an intro, we're going to go to one of two websites if you want to either find the manuals or the stock fonts. That is plectorlabs.com, the maker of the board. Where you go here, you click on the toast, or the customsabershop.com, okay? For Plector Labs, it's a little bit harder to see, but basically you have two places you want to go, manuals and support, and then Crystal Focus version 10 manual, and then right here, it even shows you the firmware that it complies with, and its release date, okay? So 1.0.7 is the latest firmware, or sorry, latest manual, and when you click on that, it'll open this guy right here, okay? Oh yeah, and if you want your original files, you can go to Downloads, Crystal Focus Sound Fonts, and then here you want to choose, if you're downloading your fonts, this package, the one that is not a work in progress, okay? I'm going to choose this package, the next one down. Okay, that would be the most up-to-date one based off the most up-to-date firmware. If this package is giving you issues, keep it uploaded and then update your firmware, okay? And like I said, there's videos on it, and it's also in the manual. Well, actually, we'll talk about that soon. Okay. For the Custom Saber Shop, if you go here, customsabershop.com, sound modules, Crystal Focus right here, and then depending on when you order the Saber, you choose your recording font or your recording manual. Okay. So, getting into the manual, which is right here. There's quite a bit in here. It is 163 pages of awesomeness. One thing to note that I will use later on is if you need anything in the manual, Control F on your keyboard and you can look for anything you need to find. This is something from when I was recording earlier. And look at that. You can find something you're looking for, okay? So when you're talking about firmware updates, I click on that and there's a handful of them, but board firmware, which you can also use this. Boom, 156. You go here. It's very, very easy to update your firmware. It's super easy. This right here is how you should do it, I think. The switch combo access. If you don't know what you're doing, that's fine. Just look it up right here. And this is very easy, okay? Not a big deal. Anyways, this is the manual, okay? Read the effing manual, really, guys. There's so much in here, and it feels like a lot, but it has every answer you could basically want, okay? The only other thing you're going to need to do this all is micro SD to USB card, like one of these guys here. Just make sure that it can read, oops, micro SD. There you go. As long as there's one of these slots, and you're good to go. That's what I have next to me, okay? And this is plugged into the computer, okay? And that went over the manual on how to find it, and oh yeah, this is how you're going to follow along. I'm going to try and do those little binks down the bottom that tell you what part of the video is what. But can only do so much here, guys. Okay, so when you are wanting to update your Saber, the first thing you're going to want to do is create a backup. Okay, so when you go here, I'm going to put this over here. I'll explain what that is in a minute. When you go and you plug in your Saber, something like this is going to pop up. Okay, where it's going to be, this is the name of your SD card. It's going to have all of your fonts. Okay, these are your fonts, your files. These, ignore the names, how these are different, because when you get your Crystal Focus for the first time, it'll have all of this, just different names because I already updated this. This right now is the SD card that comes off of my Crystal Focus 10 Bad Axe from Genesis Custom Sabers, which I still have to do a reveal video for, but that's beside the point. So I've already messed with this, and I'm going to use this as a teaching point. This is one that I've installed personally, and so I will be messing with my own files to show you kind of how it works. So, very first thing you do when you want to change anything is you're going to create a folder in your desktop. So right here, CFX Badass File or Badass Files. Open it up, and you want to just snap this. Create two folders. Okay, edited and original. What you want to do is you want to take all of your files here. Control A for copy all the files and paste them into the originals folder. Okay, it'll take a second, but they're all going to copy over to the original folder. You want to then do the same thing in the edited folder. And I'll explain why in a second here. Okay, so I'm going to let those go, and once these complete, we will continue on. Okay, so right now we are on creating a backup. We're talking about this for a minute now. Sorry guys, again, not perfect with these, but we're trying. My computer has been slow today, so I apologize for that, but we do what we can. Okay, so all your files have now been copied over into the original files folder. The reason you have this folder is that it doesn't matter if it's the original fonts or the 10th iteration you've made. You always put whatever is the most recent files, so you could probably name this current or original. Whatever are the most recent files on your Saber, for me it's these ones, in here. You do not touch them. The reason being is that if something happens, you go in, you change all your stuff, your settings, and you upload it to the Saber, and then there's issues, now you have a nice fresh set of fonts that are the most up-to-date that you had that aren't wrong, that you know these are good. Okay, so what you do is then you go into the edited folder, which is the same exact thing. Now you make all your changes in here. You keep making your changes, you test it, you test it, you test it, you put it on your Saber, and once you like it, you take all of this that you've edited and you put that in the original files. The reason being is that means that is the most up-to-date version that you are happy with and that works properly. The original is always the current, proper working files, okay? So, once you have those two in there, the first thing I do is then right-click, and you want to format your SD cards. We're going to go to this section here. So you want to format your SD card. What that means is that you're basically resetting it and getting it ready for new files. People say that you can edit the config files, any of the text files, without formatting. Format every time. It just means that you're never going to have any issues, okay? So always format. Doesn't matter if you're changing a sound font or if you're changing one value somewhere here in the config file. It doesn't matter. Always, always, always format, but always remember to format after you have your files somewhere so you know to put it back on, because formatting deletes the entire SD card. Okay? So I have my files ready to edit. So we're going here and I'm going to right click on the CFX SD card, format. You're going to leave everything the same. You want this to be the FAT32. This should be the capacity of your USB to SD card. This should be fine. Name it whatever you want. This is going to be the name of the SD card. And then start your format. Yes, you are going to erase everything. Formatting complete. Okay. Exit there. I'm going to pull this over here. So now these are the fonts I'm going to edit. Again, this is the edited folder. Okay? And now I'm going to go in. I'm going to talk about changing your sound fonts. Let's go to this. Okay. In order to change your sound fonts, you need sound fonts. So, go to a website like saberfont.com. Do not ask people on the forums to give them away unless it's a font maker, okay? Don't do that thing where you try and get fonts for cheap. Don't be that person. The sound font makers work real hard. They deserve the $8, okay? So I'm going to search Ascension, which is a sound font that I had KSith create just for me. It's probably still one of his best fonts, actually. And you're going to find the version that has a yellow symbol right there and is black in the name, because that means it's optimized for CFX. So you click on this, and now you can see CFX and Profi, whatever you want to call it. Okay, which usually means it's smooth swing as well. Okay, so this is it. You buy it, you download it, and then create a folder with all your sound fonts. Okay, and that's all good. I can minimize this for now. Okay, so and then I have my folder with all my KSith sound fonts. Alright? One note is that if you look, we were talking about having these extra folders. These are all the commissions I've done. I'm going to go to someone like Keenan, KSith. Okay, I have all of his sabers just sitting here. So if he comes to me 5 years from now, if he has this bad X with a CFX, he can come to me and say, hey, listen, I want the same files that you put on day one, and I have it right here for him. And that's important because that shows that you know exactly what you put on there and you know that this is a working file. And that's huge. So now any one of these commissions can come in and can talk to me and talk to what they need, okay, and go from there. So I'm going to go back here. Sound fonts. Okay, KSith. Smooth swing, because that's CFX, that's just how I label it. These are not all of KSith's fonts. I have a bunch of others. But some of these, I have all of his fonts, but some of these that I have that aren't here are ones that are unreleased that I'm testing for him and stuff like that. So, these are the ones that are working that I'm messing with right now. Okay. In order to change the sound font, it's real easy. These are your files. You always want to keep the number and the dash. After that, you can choose the sound font you want to change. In this case, earlier I did the light. Now I'm going to do agent. Double click. Got all your stuff in here. I'm going to control all because I don't want this font. And I'm going to keep the font config. So you hold control and you can press on something, it'll unhighlight it. So you want the font config and the LEDs. Everything else you can drag to the recycle bin. Okay. If you lose the original fonts, you can find them again on Plector Labs website. So let's see, which one do we want to put in here? I'm going to assume I don't have Duke on here. I do not. So, we're going to do KSith and Duke, his Count Dooku lightsaber. So, his CFX, I'm going to click Control All, copy all of these, and then I'm going to paste it in this file. Okay, so what that means, which is good to know, is that what he probably did is, knowing Keenan, is for certain sound fonts, a font maker will include a font config file for you and an LED file for you. It's pre-configured for that exact font. It's usually, I'm going to replace them because we want these, so we want to replace. What that usually means, and we'll get into this later, is that Keenan has changed the bolt timings or the smooth mode or something. It depends on the person. But they'll change these timings for you depending on the Saber so that everything lines up accordingly. So if you have the option to put a config file in from the font maker, always choose to do that. Okay? So we're going to go back. We're going to rename this, instead of agent, name Duke. Okay, there you go. Oops. Duke. Boom, Duke. You're all set. You just change the sound font. Simple as that. When you go to play this, it'll play all of the Count Dooku sound fonts that you're expecting. Okay? Easy enough. You can do that with any of these. Okay? You don't put spaces in the names. I think you can, but don't do it. It's just, because it's what I know. If you're done here, you don't want to change anything, copy these, paste them in your file, eject it, and you're good to go. Okay? But we're going to start talking about the main config file, which is the next big thing you want to change on your Saber. This is how you really personalize it, make it your own. Okay, so I have the manual with me all the time. I literally have, again, Sabers. I have a folder with manuals, guides, different things that we use, polarities, you know, the MPV4, I mean, all these different things that we use that we need to use. So again, in there, keep a thing of manuals, keep it all there for you so you know what you're doing. The manual is a good thing to have on you and a good thing to be able to read. You know, it teaches you. It's important. Resize these a little bit here. Because OCD, you know. Alright, so main config files, that's what's next. So the main config file is this guy right here. We're going to talk about the main configs and the color profiles. Everything else has its place, but it's not nearly as important. Okay, so main config file. I am not going to go through all of these. Okay, these here down to where it says profile 0 are your main settings. Okay, where it says profile 0, that starts your blade profiles. That's the rain effects, the fire effects, etc. Okay, if you go on to Universal Lightsaber Community, Robert Sotomayor has already done a ton of different profiles. Rain, pulsing, humming, fire, everything you can imagine. Okay, and put those on here. I have a bunch on. I think I have like 20 on here, or 15. I put 15 random ones on here. Okay, that's all this stuff is. So don't worry about this. Again, we can talk about that shortly. Okay, a lot of these changes you're not even going to make. You don't need to worry about. But let's talk about a couple of important ones. Okay, volume. It's the volume of your Saber. Beep, that's the beep when you're going into different menus on the Saber. Okay. Sleep, that's your deep sleep mode, I believe. I want to make sure though. How about that? That's a good way to put it. Okay. So we go into your manual, Control F. Sleep. There's 74. We're not looking that up. How about, let's see, Val SND, which is this guy right here. Okay, which I know what this one does. This right here, boom. Look up in the Saber, it tells you exactly what it does, it tells you what values it could be. Enables or disables the repeat of selected sound font description sound in the vocal menu. What that means is that when you are in the sound font menu and you choose a font, usually it'll replay the font name and stuff like that a second time. So rather than doing that, if this is 0, it won't do that. 1, it will. 0 means the feature's off, 1 means the feature's on. Okay? So the biggest thing you can do is if you want to know what you're doing here, something you're trying to change, look it up. Go to the manual and then just type it in. Control F, look it up, and you can see exactly what it does. And there's other things talking about, you know, if parameter here. Okay? It talks about these things for you guys. That's the whole point of the manual, what's nice about it, okay? And it's, like I said, this is even in more detail than the other part. It will tell you exactly what these are doing. So guys, when people say read the manual, it's because it takes some time, but everything you need to know is in there, okay? So I'm going to point out a couple of important things that I see in here that a lot of people have questions about. First and foremost, LED strip. If you have a NeoPixel blade, this number has to be something greater than 0. Usually 135 will do. That's the number of pixels in your strip. So if you put 5, that's not enough. 130 is usually pretty good. That's about the average length of a Saber. Okay, and then I'll basically talk about how they're going to light up. Okay, 125 strips. I messed with this because again, I was doing some drag strip. I'm trying to say this here. Drag strip effects, and so therefore I kind of messed with it a little bit till I got it the way I wanted. But that's what this means. LED strip is your NeoPixel strip. It's how you enable it. Again, but if you want to know more than that. I'm not going to type in LED strip because it's going to have like 170 hits, but watch, LED. Eventually, yeah, I know, 172, look at that, I was pretty close. But eventually when you go in here and you look, you know, and it's going to talk about LED strip parameters, okay? Eventually, there you go. LED strip parameters, LED strip, enables, blah, blah, blah. You know, so a blade composed of 2 pixel strips is 100, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it goes into all of this for you. Okay, again, that's really important to read the manual. I know I keep saying that, but you guys have no idea how many people could just fix a lot of their problems if they just read the manual. One issue that's probably hard to describe is this one right here. Okay, H-temp. Something a lot of people complain about. What that is it's a feature that Irv added where if the board is reading over this temperature, 40 degrees Celsius, the board will give off a certain signal, and it'll say, if you ever try to turn your Saber on, it says warning cell critical or something like that, cell temperature critical. All it's saying is that the board reads the temperature over 40 degrees Celsius inside. It doesn't mean anything crazy is going on. Don't worry about it. Nothing's really up. Change it to something like 70 or 80, because then if you read that, then there's an issue. Okay, I change mine to 150 or I leave it at 40, it just depends. If you want to just disable that feature, just put it at 150. Because if your board reaches 150 degrees Celsius, I really hope that you put it down and run. Okay, so that's what that means. Spectrum mode talks about how you do spectrum dialing and the axis and stuff. I mean, twist, spin, stab are the motion settings. Again, you know, the gate talks about at what sensitivity the board starts to recognize movement. All these things are in the Saber, in the manual, and they're usually grouped together. You know, so if you go in and you find them, I don't know exactly where they are, but you know, you see how a lot of them are grouped together, so you can start to mess with these, you know, as you need to. Okay, it's really important to know that. Profile is right here. It's actually perfect that it's right here, I think. Yeah, blast P. Okay, yeah. So this talks about all the different things that are in here that talk about ways to make the blades look a certain way. I know there's a lot of stuff. That's why we have people like Robert who does it for us, who we are very grateful for. But again, this is how you mess with if you want fire blade and stuff like that. That's all in here, and again, all in the manual. Okay, that's all I'm going to go over for the main config file. If you want to change something, let's say I want the menu at 99, I would go in, change it to 99. I would Control S. I just save the file, and then I would exit out. Okay, I'm going to put it back to 100 before I leave. So you save it, exit out. All your files are saved here now. Okay, that's it. Again, once you're done with it, toss your everything on the Saber, and you're good to go. For the colors, same thing. This is just talking about the color of your blades. Okay, it's just like profile 0, 1, 2. Now it's color 0, 1, 2, etc. Bunch of colors. Okay, so let's go in here. Let's see. We'll look up F color. Boom. What do we got here? Would you look at that? Tells you what's going on. Not only that, but Irv has even. This is usually for LEDs, but it can be. Actually, this is for both. Excuse me. Ignore that. Okay. This is if you want a red blade, you want 1023 0 0. Usually ignore the fourth channel. That's for rare instances. So it's RGB. Okay. Think if you had a platter of paint. Okay. You want to mix those to get the color you want. So if you want an orange, red with a little bit of green. Okay. If you want purple, it's going to be blue and red. Red with mostly blue. Okay. And it's going through that. It'll tell you all that stuff. How to make the colors. This one's pretty straightforward. Okay. You can have as many as you want, I believe, but the ones that are on there in default are usually pretty good. So you can exit out of that. Boom. We just did all of your config files. Okay. It seems like a lot, but all it is, the main point is you go in, you find what you want to change, you change it. If you don't know what you want to change, go in the manual and read it. Simple as that. Okay. And trust me, there's a lot of stuff in here, guys. I do not know what most of this stuff means. But if I need to find out, you just go in here and you figure it out. Okay? Take some time, but it's worth it. So let's go into Duke. That's the one we just made. Okay, we're going to talk about font files now. We're almost done. Fonts have two main files. You have your font config and your LEDs. The LEDs are very simple. It means, where is this thing here? At the top here. Okay. You have 8 spots here. 1 means the LED is on, 0 means the LED is off. Those 8 numbers from left to right, or was it from right to left? I think it's from right to left actually, but I forget. Either way. Maybe they changed it. In the old one I think it was right to left. Yeah. So from left to right, left is 1, meaning this is accent LED pad 1. 2, 2, 3, 3, and so on. There's 8 accent LED pads, there's 8 numbers here. This is how you turn them on and off, essentially. So if you have like a bar graph or crystal chamber, it's usually controlled in here. Okay? And this is basically saying that you're going to, so this is the power. When you power the Saber on, it's going to do this little display. So you power the Saber on, and it's going to wait 100 milliseconds, it's going to turn 1, then another 100 milliseconds, it's going to turn 1 and 2, and then so on and so on. It's going to basically light all these up. That's what that means. And again, it's all the same for all of these. Okay, so when the Saber is idling, when the Saber is in lockup, when the Saber is just sitting there, okay, it's all these different things, and you're powering off. That's all this is talking about. Very easy. And again, that's all in the manual. The more important one is font config. Again, pretty easy, but the main thing that people are going to worry about is right here. Okay, your smooth swing parameters. Don't really worry about this stuff here. Don't start messing with these things. I don't ever touch these. You really shouldn't have a need to. Okay, so just leave it. This is talking about your smooth swing parameters. You can mess with these. Keenan, KSith knows more about it than I do. I took one that he gave me and I just ran with it and I kind of just left it. But again, this is your smooth swing mode. If you want smooth swing enabled, it's 0, 1, 2, or 3. Again, it's all in the manual. We looked it up really quick. Boom. Smooth mode, 0 to 3. And it tells you exactly what each of these are, okay? And then you can kind of go with your settings of your smooth swing. So that's in here, okay? And then the last thing is here, your AccuBolt, multi-bolt, blasters. This one's a little bit of a weird one, so I'm going to show you a different one. Let's go to Ascension. Okay, good, okay. So these are talking about the timings. Again, this is showing usually you have 4 blasters. And it's talking about the timing, wear on the blade, and stuff like that, okay? And that's all it says. It's basically showing you how fast and wear on the blade and stuff like that the bolt are going to flash. That's all this means, okay? That's it. We went through how to upload your sound fonts, okay, how to change them. We went through the color profiles and how to change those. Went through the main config file. Oops, did I click the wrong thing? I did. The main config file, what certain things mean, okay, and how you should always go into the manual as you're trying to change stuff. And like I said, the only reason I know how to do this stuff is because I went to the manual, I started reading it, and I started messing with something, and I plugged it into my Saber, and I saw what happened. Okay, don't mess with things you don't know anything about, but learn to mess with it too. Okay, so we taught how to do that, and then we learned how to edit the font config file, which goes with smooth swing and blasters, as well as the font LED files, which just goes with here the board's 8 accent LEDs. Okay, that's it. We've done it all. Now all we have to do is install the files. So right now, keep this in mind, we are in our edited folder. We never left this folder. So all that stuff we changed, Agent is still here. In the edited, Duke is here. So I'm going to take this, Control All, I'm going to copy them. I'll talk about installing files here. So this, Control All, copy them, click on CFX. This is your SD card. It should be empty because you formatted. If you haven't formatted, do it. Again, that's earlier. We talked about formatting. In here, and paste your sound fonts, your files and everything, okay? And we're gonna wait, we're gonna let that upload. We're gonna talk about some final wrap-ups, and then we're gonna be done, okay? So I'm gonna this here. Let's go away. You guys grab yourself one of these guys. I should probably grab one of these too. Computer's been a little bit slow today. While that's doing that, we're gonna back up, okay? So we have our edited sound fonts that we've done. What I'm going to do is now I know that everything I did was fine. Okay. Once I plug the SD card into my Saber, and I check the main thing I changed was Duke, so once I go to that font and it works fine and I love it, you can do a couple of things. You can take all of this and now just plop it into the original files, or sometimes what I'll do, and I should have been a little bit clearer at the beginning, sometimes what I'll do is I'll have current. So normally with the CFXs, I'll have the original files that have not been edited that come from the factory. I'll have the edited, and then I'll have my current files. Okay, which means that those are the files that are on the board right now. And again, when I take the board out and I want to edit things, I pop it in here, I edit it, and then once it's all good, I put in the current. The only point is just to keep it so that if you screw something up, you have some files back there that you know work. Again, that's the only point of that. It's taken forever. So, I'm trying to think if there's anything I can work through here while we're sitting here. I'm trying to see if this is recording good. I did this earlier and I used a different program, and this just stopped recording, which was the worst. So, this is edited. This is this. This is still going. Can't believe it's taking so long. It's not like my computer to do that. So, what can we say here? What can we do to talk about? Yeah, we went over most of it. I'm going to check and see what's in here. I am not touching that. Okay. Okay, guys. I'm going to wrap it up so that you guys don't have to stare at this for no reason. All that you do is once you've pasted all of your sound fonts in here, and once they're in, you right-click, you eject, you plug into your Saber, and you're good to go. Okay, guys, I really hope this video helped. I know it was a lot. Hey, look, we're doing a wrap-up. I know it was a lot. I know that it at times might seem intimidating. Trust me, take your time, rewatch this video, ask if you have questions, post in the forums, but always try to go to something like, the forums, and when you go to whatever page it is that you want to go to, nothing's on my mind. The vaults. Go here, use this search feature. Okay, the vault or universal lightsaber community. Actually, that's what I'll show you guys while we're sitting here. Okay, we were talking about how, let me make this look bigger here. No? You don't want to do that? Having a little bit for me? Okay. We were talking about how Robert did all the files that are the different, let me go in here to show you. The config, we talked about Robert has all these profiles. So yeah, go to Universal Lightsaber Community, I believe it's files. I guess it's the config, but I want to, so June 29th. So no, that's that, I was making sure. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, it's config, that's June 29th, May 15th, so yeah, let's try this one. Right here. Okay, so you're going to open that up. Oh, shit. Okay, so this is one of Robert's config files, okay? And he has way more than I do, okay? He has, how many, he has 31 different profiles, okay? You can choose from. These might change a little bit as the Saber updates, but there you go. Now you got your blade profiles. Okay, and he might edit those. That's right there in the files, okay? And some scammers, so don't do that either. Don't be one of those people. And we'll leave this here. So yeah, that's everything we do. I'm gonna leave this, let that upload because this thing doesn't want to work right now. But you do, pop them out, pop them in the Saber, okay? Guys, I appreciate you taking your time. I appreciate you watching this video. I do not know how long it is right now, but hopefully it's not too long. And like I said, if you have any questions, let us know, and we'll see what we can do, alright? Thanks, guys.